Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum. Straight talk about you and your money. Now from the BizTalk studios, here is Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is July 16th. It's a Tuesday. It's 2024. And man, oh man, do we have a lot to cover going back to Thursday on the markets. But first, if you do not get this radio show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our Twitter feed, which is now X. And if you don't follow us on Twitter, you probably should. And if you email us, just be nice. That's all. And we thank you all. 99.9% of you think we're nice. And in case you don't know, we cover the markets, the economy, jobs, your industry, Washington, D.C., as they continue to utter destruction, and whatever else comes to mind. Just want to start out real quickly. All the things we thought logically. We came on the show yesterday, did a few minutes on the attempted assassination of President Trump, and we just talked logic to you about something's not right. And we had to preface it by saying we are not conspiracy theorists. We're not saying anything is up. What we are saying is heads should roll. I saw the head of the Secret Service says, I am not quitting. Really? And all I've heard in the last day and today was all the experts out mimicking exactly what I said to you about what the issues were with the security there. Insanity ruled. I cannot believe somebody was able to get off a shot so easily. They're doing an investigation. I'd like to say I trust it. Whatever. J.D. Vance. So J.D. Vance was selected for vice president by President Trump. Yes, you are hearing J.D. Vance once said that President Trump was Hitler, which already gives him a black mark in my book. I have a big issue with anyone, I don't care who it is, making Hitler famous again. For some reason, and especially the left, with Trump, Hitler this, Hitler that. And I've had conversations with people who have said to me, Trump is Hitler, and I would say right back to them, oh, he killed 12 million people? And they look at me, oh, and I'd say he killed 6 million Jews, and they look at me again. And they would say, oh, come on. I go, well, you're the one who mentioned Hitler. Anyway, all nauseating. J.D. Vance, fine. Nobody gets elected as a vice president. Would I pick somebody else? Absolutely. But whatever. He's young. The issue is he's inexperienced, but maybe that's good news. I could have been picked vice president, would have been a much better choice. But President Trump does not know me. And we move forward. In Marxist land, it just gets worse. Not only has Marxist in chief proposed, and these are real proposals, I'm not making this up, besides the Trump tax cuts sunsetting, which mean they would be gone, which means everybody from $1 will get a tax hike, regardless of Joe Biden saying only above 400,000. Remember, he's a bigger liar than the last guy, and that is a high bar to get over. He is proposing long-term capital gains go from 20 to 44.6%. Right now, long-term capital gains over a year, you pay 20% tax. He wants it to go to 44.6 on the high end. He's insane. Unrealized capital gains. They've proposed this. If you have an asset and at the end of the year you made $100,000, even if you didn't sell it, you're going to pay taxes on it. They're insane. They have floated but backed away on wealth taxes, meaning, and by the way, does California have a wealth tax right now? I'm not even sure. They sicken me, the government over there. But that would mean over a certain amount, even though you paid taxes on it, locally, state-wise, federally, they'll tax you on the assets you have. They're insane. And as I've said to you, the great con that's being ignored is President Biden took spending from $4.4 trillion federally the year before COVID. We're like at 7 now, somewhere in there. Somebody tells me it's 6.5. If they tell me it's 6.5, it's 7 and higher. That's what he did, and it's all debt. He's running $2 trillion deficits now, but says he's lowered the debt. Boy, he couldn't last 3 minutes in a debate with me. And the second part of the con is coming after you. And I got news for you. There ain't enough money the billionaires have to pay for all that he wants. I can take or leave. Let me put it best. As you know, the two people I did not want running for president are now running for president. Knowing it's a binary choice, we can't have another 4 years of Joe Biden. What he's trying to do to this country. That's my take. You cannot continue to extract from the people into your hands and just waste the hell out of it. Do you know they put up this pier in Gaza? We paid like a couple of $100 million. It broke down. $200 million wasted completely. Do you know they've spent, I forgot how many billions on charging stations around the country, and there's 7 now? Do you know in California they spent billions on about 1,600 feet of rail for high-speed rail? Catching my drift? So we will continue to pull no punches. I may have to tell you, as much as I am no fan, I may have to campaign for Trump to make sure that this guy doesn't win another 4 years, and especially if he'd have the House and the Senate. He is a Marxist. I don't use that as a pejorative. I mean it. He is a control freak. He does not believe in we the people, and you know that because all he keeps talking about is how he's working for the people. I'm working for the people, the American people. We're the United States of America. No, it's Washington, D.C. So we'll keep yapping away at it, pulling no punches, with no bias or ulterior motive except you. And if Trump slips on a banana peel again, I'm going to cover it. By the way, finally, you know, the empathetic Mr. Wonderful Biden approved Robert F. Kennedy having Secret Service. Do you know they turned him down until what just happened? Be careful of con artists, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we segue, because I don't think I have much else to talk about. The investigations on the murderer, his head's blown off, which is just fine. Hopefully he lived for 10 seconds and felt the pain. I believe they raised $5 million for the man who was murdered, his family, as well as the others that were shot. Looks like they're going to be okay. And I gather we're just in the first inning of trying to figure out what the hell happened and how it was able to happen, because something don't make sense. And again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, except for JFK. There's no doubt in my mind. And all you got to do, go look at the Zapruder tape and report back to me. Just look at it with no bias. They say he was shot by one person, even though bullets came from different places, and they were able to get away with it, just like Jeff Epstein. Oh, sure, suicide. All right, up next, the markets. Please listen. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Hi, I'm Gary Kaltbaum, host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we'll carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you to where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. Investment advisory services offered through Kaltbaum Capital Management.
It's time to switch on the integrator units and get the brain cells working.
You're listening to
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Investor's Edge
The last bastion of quality programming.
with Gary Kaltbaum.
It doesn't get better than this.
So, Steely Dan, I hope you don't mind me saying two words. Holy crap. Holy crap. I'm going to do it one more time. Holy crap. So let me explain stock markets for you. There's typically, most of the time, somewhat of an ebb and flow as a whole. 2 steps up, 1 step down, 2 steps up, 1 step down, 2 steps down, 1 step up, 2 steps down, 1 step up. And of course, we look at the market, sectors, countries, commodities, and names. Up until last week, pretty much for months, with an S, months, we're on the show and just saying the same thing over and over again because it was pretty easy to say. Number one, there are 7 stocks that are making up 48% of the NASDAQ 100, 33% of the S&P. That's what we've been doing because the rest of the market sucks. And when we say the rest of the market, does not mean every name or every sector, but for the most part, downtrends. And it was in the transports, the housing, a ton of the retail. Our left screen that I always talk about, you know my left screen? The one that has these smaller to mid-cap tech stocks that have been bludgeoned through the last few years. The bear market never came back or been breaking down as of recent. Economically sensitive stocks, industrial types, building/construction. Just bear markets. of differing levels. And when I say differing levels, for example, Lululemon, stocks crashed. And when I mean a crash, you drop 40% in 6 months. For me, that's a crash, for example. But then you have things that are down 10, 15%. I don't call that big bear markets, but I call them downtrends. And I can avoid them because if they're not on what I call the launching pad, and what a launching pad is if a stock traded between 90 and 100 for 4 months and then broke above 100. That's a launching pad. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to work. It can go to 105 and then back to 95, and they consider that a failed move. But the hope is you get a launching pad, and it turns into an uptrend. NVIDIA, one hell of a launching pad from January 8th. On January 5th, the Friday, we said to you, just letting you know, NVIDIA's been trading sideways for like 5 months, and a break above 5, it was a little less than 510, would be a real big breakout for arguably the number one tech stock, and it broke out, and it went from pre-split 505 up to 970 before it went into another correction. So until last week, had nothing to do with them. And this included small caps. Just so you know, they have small cap indices. They tell us they're for companies that have a market caps up to $2 billion. And then there's mid cap indices also. And they're between 2 and whatever. And of course, then you have the larger cap indices, which would be your NYSE or the S&P and stuff like that. So Thursday morning, and just so you know, going into Thursday, there was nothing going on with these areas. They were tight, but they were in near-term downtrends of differing levels, and a lot of names in bad shape. And mind you, that's going into Thursday, and you know what Friday was? The start of earnings season. So we had this inflation report, whatever. And because of that inflation report, yields came down. And by the way, we're down to 4.167 now. And on Thursday, we just came onto this radio show and reported to you, we think there's a chance, and we're very careful with our words. And I haven't listened to Thursday, but I'm pretty sure this is a good paraphrasing of it. Good chance that the small and mid caps have finally woken up. That's all. That's what we said. The Russell 2000, the mid cap 400, and we just noticed it was a real, what's the best way to put it? Had some oomph to it. You spell oomph O-O-O-M-P-H. That's all we said. In the midst of that, the Dow had a very good day Wednesday, okay day Thursday, better day Friday. But on Thursday, we stated there's a chance here the small and mid caps have woken up. And as we did our scans Thursday night, okay, terrific. Let's see what comes of it. Little better tone. And when we do our list of stocks, we didn't find much. Goldman Sachs looked pretty good, but they were reporting, so nothing to do. For example, and then Friday, and then yesterday, and then today. Before I do the Dow, the Russell 2000 was up another 3.38%. And in case you don't know, before Thursday, and remember, Thursday gapped up, The IWM, which represents the Russell 2000, was 203 and change. It closed at 224 and change today. In 4 days, 10% on the Russell 2000. From an area of the market that was dead. The mid-cap 400 closed at 534. It's 568. 34 and 5, 6% and change in 4 days. Very impressive. What was even more impressive, though, regional banks are up 12% in 4 days. What? We'll continue along these lines. Give you our thoughts. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Listening to
America is talking.
Investor's Edge.
He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
Comes highly recommended. You're going to feel better if you talk to him.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. Regional banks up 12% in 4 days. At a new yearly high. Still way below March of 22. But wow. Housing related. And may I state for the record, the housing related was down to the 200-day moving average, only down about, let's see, the ITB, home construction, had gone from 116 down to 97. 18%. That 18% went from March to July. 3.5, 4 months. You're almost back to the highs in 4 days. From the close Wednesday, 100 to almost 115. The XHB and the ITB did about the same. Both home construction and all that funky stuff, and home builders. The XHB home builders is in new yearly highs after correcting about 15% over a 4-month period. In 4 days, got it back and more. The economically sensitive stocks, we always bring up certain names. United Rentals. At the close, Wednesday was 640 and change. It's 743 in 4 days into an all-time high in advance of their earnings reports. Remember, this is one of our favorite economically sensitive names. What's our other one? Caterpillar. Closed Thursday at 330. I take it back. It closed Wednesday at 328. It's 360 in 4 days. 10% move in a big Dow name. Just letting you know. We saw the oomph move Thursday. We would have no clue that they would be jumping on top of each other at, I got to use the terminology, any price, vertically moving these things up. Let me stop there. We use these little sentiment indicators, which are secondary. They are off the roof now. as far as we should get some sort of moderation. Didn't get it today. And by the way, the number was pretty high coming into today. And by the way, the financials. Bank America reports -6 earnings, flat sales into new high ground today, up 5%. Goldman up another 10 in the Dow. PNC, regional bank, reports a -2% earnings, up 4.7%. All we can tell you, the big money is flowing into all the areas that were dead, and man, it is flowing fast and flowing swift. I can tell you on a technical basis, nice constructive pullbacks, all these things should be bought. Think this is probably the start of a move of Revenge of the Nerds. That started just Thursday. It's only 4 days into it, which takes me to the Dow. Now, may I state for the record, the small caps were up twice as good as the Dow today, but the Dow was up 742. Now, a couple of things along those lines that are of import. As you know, the Dow is very price-weighted. As you know, that in the Dow, you have something like a Intel at $34, but a United Health at $550, which means United Health, what is 15, 16 times more important to the Dow index. United Health was up 33.5 on their earnings today. And what they did today, and this is not conspiracy talk, we're just telling you facts. United Health, the number one important stock in the Dow. Number 2 is Goldman. Number 3 is Caterpillar. Number 4 is Home Depot. They accounted for 500 Dow points today. 500 Dow points of the 742. The Dow cleanly broke out, just describing it for you, above the May highs. Did it a couple of days ago, but today was the move. And one can say there was a high late March, early April. So the Dow with a very clean breakout, launching pad off of, let's call it 4 to 5 months of range, with a lot of ugly Dow stocks. But when you have the 4 most important names as far as size go up 15, 11, 11, and 33, there's your 500 Dow points. By the way, even Boeing was up 7 today. In the financials, American Express up almost 6, but they do report earnings, I believe, tomorrow. All we can tell you, all in all the areas that are dead have woken up and have woken up. I try to never underestimate anything. Wow. This is an outlier move in the lower beta and the small and mid. It's like you just squeezed a plastic bottle and everything shot out. And whether it's W.W. Granger, economically sensitive, it went up $45. It's a $1,000 stock. So it's not as good as I'm saying. United Rentals, Parker Hannifin, up 23. Parker Hannifin is up from 500 to 568 in 4 days, maybe 5. These were dead. Even deeper bear market names have come up strong. Whatever's at work here, I couldn't give a crap. I don't care why. We're just letting you know the Dow broke out today. The small caps broke out Friday. The mid caps broke into new high ground today. Yes, today. Gold broke out of a 3-month range today. The industrials, the XLI, broke out of about a 4-month range today. I mentioned housing. I mentioned the regionals. Do I need to say more? And by the way, the housing stocks, somebody emailed me, one of my buddies, and said, what did the housing stocks cure cancer today? I mean, some very strong moves. And I made over double digits in housing stocks in the last year and a half twice. Didn't get a chance to jump on these because Thursday was the day they jumped, but would never believe 15% in 4 days, back to the highs so quickly. And now what we're going to be watching for, listen carefully, because I don't know if we're going to get momentum is momentum. And may I state for the record, it was momentum today. Let's hope for a few days of pulling back. We'll be on it. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
What are we waiting for?
Well, what are you waiting for?
1, 2, ready, go.
Action!
Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum.
By the way, the other part of the equation, which is quite amazing, this is all right before earnings reports. One of the weakest truckers was J.B. Hunt. And on Wednesday, it closed at 160. It closed today at 176, up 10%. They reported earnings. The earnings sucked. It's down $6 in the aftermarket. Probably end up tomorrow because of momentum. Whatever. I don't know what else to tell you. Just very strong. A ton of regional banks are at a yearly high now, and that's what's been driving the small caps. And some of the, I'm not going to mention, but as I went through the scans, just a bunch of symbols I have never seen in a bunch of regional banks that trade 200,000 shares a day from different areas of the country. Whatever. Now, there's been a little bit of, I don't know, repercussions. No, not repercussions. Where's the money flowing from? Well, just letting you know, Microsoft, in a Dow up 740, was down $6.65 today, Microsoft. Just letting you know. Breaking the 21-day moving average. NVIDIA today was down $2, breaking the 21-day moving average, with the Dow up 742. Facebook was down $7 today, breaking the 50-day, with the Dow up 742. Broadcom was down. Google was down $3. What gives? It's simple. Gargantuan major rotation out of those names that were doing the trick. We're very careful about what we tell you here. We sold our Meta, our Microsoft, what else? Nvidia in the last week or so because of the change of complexion, but no way, shape, or form did we think this would. And by the way, Meta's really in trouble as a stock at this juncture, pending earnings. Microsoft, under pressure. Nvidia, under pressure. So a definitive changing of the guard where those 7 stocks, not as great. Apple was only up 10 cents today. Amazon was only up 20 cents today. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Just a very strong day. The S&P was only up the equivalent of about, I'll call it 275 Dow points. How can that be? Those 7 stocks were on the weaker side today. When 7 stocks equals 33% of the NASDAQ 100, the S&P, and 48% of the NASDAQ 100, it could be meaningful. With the Dow up 742, the NASDAQ 100 was up 11. What a change. With the NASDAQ 100 only up 11, transport were up 517 points. And if you want to know change of complexion, in 4 days, the transports have gone from 15,000 to 16,300. It's about 8 and change. You went from the outhouse to the highs of the past 6 months in 4 days. It took 4 days to get back what 4 months did on the transports. And I got somebody asking me today, did anything change in the world? I hear people calling it the Trump trade. Okay. I hear people saying, well, the guarantee that the Fed's going to lower rates. Well, I could have guaranteed that with the 10-year at 4.2 and them at 5.25. Maybe it was the finality of the market believing, oh, they're now going to play catch up. That's doing it. Okay. I don't care. We just follow the bouncing ball. And out of nowhere on Thursday, the gap to the upside and a relentless move in all the areas of the market, most all, that were just dead. And the transports, case in point, about as ugly can be going into Thursday. And just poof, 517 points. We'll see whether a J.B. Hunt causes any problems tomorrow because of their crappy numbers. I suspect not so much. Remember also in the transport, FedEx came in with a whopping 1% sales growth, and the stock was up $40. This was about 3 weeks ago. Not so sure I have anything else to add, except a bazillion more stocks, companies, to report earnings. Markets are very overbought here, about as much as I've seen. A 4-day move for lower beta, about as stretched as I've seen. It did not stop it today. And that's your story. And a big wow. That all said, I'm done. Have a great evening. Drive carefully. When you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better, I promise. I am not sure of TV tomorrow, but stay well and be well. Same time radio show. Thanks for joining us. Peace out. Good night.
This has been Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum on BizTalk. To listen to past episodes or to get in contact with Gary, go to GaryK.com. That's GaryK.com.